Alright, so I've got my audible buzzer here for the Dakota Digital Dash interface, and this is going to give me audible tones, obviously, for the alarms that I set on my gauges. For instance, low oil pressure or high coolant temperature. This will not only, they'll show a visual alarm, and it'll show an audible alarm, which is pretty cool. But I've got this thing mounted here with just some Velcro, and it plugs in right here. Alright, so I'm going to be on this side of the car, obviously, when this dash assembly is in the car, and I need to stay away from any ignition or high voltage wires with all the wires that go to this component here. Obviously the tack signal, you know, that sort of thing goes through that module, but I wanted to show you where the module is going to go, or where I put it. And the best place, in my opinion, is there. So it's nice and close to the dash module, and all the inputs and outputs are coming through this guy. Super great design. I'm really excited about it, installing it and wiring up to it. So it's real simple. You can see where clear, red, and white and ground will go for each device or input. So as you can see, there's all sorts of different things here that you can use. So yeah, I'm really excited about this, if you can't tell already. And the way I like to wire things is, you know, setting the components in place where they're going to go, and then wiring up to them, instead of, you know, putting a pigtail, cutting it, and then not having enough wire or having too much wire. So I have to find spots for all these different components, like the horns, the little horn button, or the audible signal for the Dakota Digital Dash. Now I'm faced with, where am I going to put this little switch? So this little guy here is for enabling and programming the Dakota Digital Dash. This doesn't need to be in plain sight, so I'm not going to put it in plain sight. So I was thinking, now this is the driver's side of the dash assembly. I was thinking of making this guy, it's supposed to be a 13/16 hole. So I believe I can reach under that relatively easily and put it in one way or the other. But it's just this little guy, and comes with a little L bracket too. I'm just not big on drilling holes unless I absolutely have to, for like a ground or something like that. But you know, keeping these cars as disrupted as possible is a goal of mine. So let me see if I can get this switch put in. Okay, got my little control wires in here. So this is for the brake light switch, the warning switch, left turn, right turn, and these guys go in on the right side of the Dakota Digital RTX control box. This is the power from the control box to the gauge cluster, so it'll be feeding this way. And this is, oh, I'm sorry, this is not the power, this is the tack. So this is the tack signal wire here that goes into the control box. So it plugs into the control box. This guy also, that little plug. And so these guys are going to land, like I said, on the right side. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. Just going through my mind. Then I have my twisted pair. For those of you who don't know, is short for a 2-wire sensor. So this is my coolant temp sensor here. Plugs in really nicely. It's got a nice shield on it. These adapters actually came with the kit, which is really nice, not to have to hunt around for those. And got my oil pressure, which is back here on the Chrysler. This is a 3-wire, that guy right there. Also in a nice sheathed protected wire. So I've got both of those kind of looped up right here until I drill my hole through the firewall, which I always kind of run all the wires that I'm going to run through the firewall together, and then I determine the size of the grommet that I'm going to use. I have used those Holley larger doors, but I try not to use them unless I have to. And again, I don't like drilling holes just arbitrarily around the car. So got that all situated, ready to go. Now this is all a prerequisite to the chassis wiring. Now I fit the fuse panel in the dash, obviously, and then I have my bulkhead fitting here. I thought about putting this in first, but then I realized there's going to be some complications with putting it there. So I just mounted that first. So when I swing this whole dash in, this bulkhead connector just bolts on, and then I'm in the wind as far as getting down with the wiring. So I felt like that was a better way to go. I've got everything marked, so when I do swing this thing in, it'll be evident as to what goes to what. And I'm gonna keep going. All right, so I'm trying to figure out where to put this. I need this. This is important. So my first thought, and keep in mind, I need to keep it away from that box right there in the center of the screen. I can't have any ignition wires going past that, or any I can't have that MSD box anywhere near that. And my first thought was to put it right here. I probably wouldn't see it. Maybe I'd see some of it with the dash in, but I was okay with that until I realized these require battery power directly to the battery and ground. So I'd be running, I would say, about 8 feet of probably number 10 wire all the way over there, and then that way up the inner fender through the loom to the battery. So voltage drop and just all that happy BS I want to avoid. So do all my thinking in the shower. Thought of this in the shower last night. Get over here without killing myself. I don't want it in here. I don't want the traditional mounted there, mounted there. I don't want it over here either. So, and I can't have it on the other side of that wall, or the firewall, because of that Dakota Digital ECU. So what I came up with is putting it under the battery box right there, put it underneath. And so I have these, it'll be rubber mounted on these little standoffs that MSD supplies with the box. And so I'm going to pull this guy out and make sure it is possible, but that was my thought. So give me a sec, let me pull this out and make sure it's going to work. So I wasn't able to put it all on this portion because the box is too long. It would have ended up interfering with this guy over here. So I decided to move it over here into this area. And it appears that my holes are good. Freehand. Clean these burrs off here real quick. Take a small unit bit, just go in, usually gets it all, or at least where it falls off. Our belt strings made this today to size our belt, or beltsa, for our accessories. Sorry, I'm talking in code here. Oh. What am I doing here? A lot tighter. That's not gonna work. Shoot. Guess I'm flipping it back around. Well, that's not going to work. There's just not enough room between the vertical supports and this kick out inside the inner fender. So, yeah, yay, I've got 4 holes in my battery box now that have no purpose, so great. Anyway, moving on. Back to plan B. Or was it plan A? I think it was plan A. Just sometimes it happens. Just they're saying it is what it is. It's not my saying. I just use it a lot, it seems like. But I think I'm just gonna have to take the punch here and just go for it. And I've already marked my spots here after I did some impressions yesterday. But I think that's where it's gonna be happiest. So, all right, let's try this again. Emergency brake actuator installed. We have emergency brakes now. They still need adjustment, but we're gonna do that when the back tires are off the ground and the car is running, so we know how well they work. So yeah, happy about that. It's been a long time coming. Remember how bent that rod was? We were able to straighten it out. Now it looks like it's supposed to be bent upward, but I'm gonna get the dash shell on before I determine what that needs to look like. And we're missing that little clip that holds the spring back. But yeah, one more part on the car and off the shelf, so we're happy about that. And look, it all matches too. It's almost like you could drive this thing. There's a gas pedal in there, I promise. Well, not gas pedal, but gas pedal bracket is in there. So we have a clutch, and that's that little switch for the Dakota Digital dash display to put it in different modes and set parameters and whatnot. So yeah, things are looking good. That is a brake switch, a really, really old one, but I bet you it works compared to today's trash that we get overseas. So all right, let me install this MSD box. All right, so just to ensure that I'm not going to make another mistake and drill more holes in my car than I have to, with this guy here, I feel pretty good about it, but I just need to make sure that the hard lines that come to the evaporator, the high and low pressure lines that go through these holes here, won't interfere with that box. So before I mount the box, I'm going to mount all the refrigerant lines. So I've got those, and this is pretty cool. I didn't realize that Vintage Air actually sends these things already made up. They used to just send one end made up, and then you had to make up the other ends, or take it to a hose, or a hydraulic hose place. So I actually had the tool to do that, but to my surprise, all these hoses in this bag, I should have taken them out sooner, but they're all ready to go and be put on. So that's kind of my holdup. I kind of was anticipating that, so I wanted to do the wiring before it all got in the way. But what a pleasant surprise. Thanks, Vintage Air. So I'm going to put these two guys on and just kind of work my way back to the evaporator, just to make sure that I'm not making another mistake and I don't have to repaint the car. So here we go. Another moment of surprise is they're also loading all these hose ends with O-rings. When the older kits, you had to actually put these on yourself, which isn't a big deal, but I was wondering why so few O-rings came with the kit. Well, this is probably why, but you still have to put mineral oil on them so they don't go in dry, and don't be chintzy with it, because these things will tear easily. So got that. And I'll only open one at a time. But what I'm going to do is install the compressor fittings first. And they have the test ports on them, that's how you know. Hear that nitrogen coming out of there? So, how you know which one goes to the compressor is with the test port. That's the test port right there. This is the smaller number 6 line. This is the high pressure side. So this guy's gonna go in like this. And hopefully, there we go. Yeah, fortunately you can clock these test ports so they're conveniently located. So I think that, well, the return hose is probably going to be in the way of that, so probably going to do that. Yeah, I can see they've made some advancements in these kits. They sure do cost a lot of money, but I've had really good luck with them. Of course, anything with Charger or late 60s, early 70s Chrysler is like 3 times the cost of anything Chevy or Ford for some reason. And I'm only taking one cap off of these hoses at a time, just to prevent stuff going into them during the process. There we go. And I'll go around and recheck all these before I charge it. So this guy, I believe, goes hose routing diagram here. So that's this guy here. Yes, able to see me. What about this guy? Make sure there's nothing in there. Back here. Yeah, these things are kind of a bear sometimes. So these have a double coupler nut. Yeah, so I guess that kind of takes your ability away of running custom lines. A lot of guys do, just to kind of not see them as much, maybe run them on the inside of the fender wells. And these do run inside the fender wells instead of, you know, down this way. But yeah, without being able to make your own hose end, it kind of limits you. So I'm sure it's a mixed bag of results for vintage air. All right, so the liquid line goes to this guy down here. Okay, well, I will just put this guy on. I don't have those inner fender lines really set up yet, so I have to go back to this. What is that crud? Oh, it's polish. I was like, what is that black stuff? Polished. They polished this compressor and I didn't even want it polished. Yeah, great. Yeah, as if it wasn't bad enough that it's right in your face when you open the hood. It's polished. I mean, polished has its place. I like it in some instances, but not this one. So I misspoke. I misled you. I apologize for my mistake. Some days you just make more than others. But in my experience, the charge ports are typically near the compressor. Not today. Or not in this case anyway. This 90 goes to the compressor. That means this guy is also incorrect. This guy. Alright, so I'm going to put my number 6 hose in here for the evaporator. The high pressure side. Using the lower grommet because it's just geographically closer to where it goes in onto the evaporator. I'll leave that dangle for now. And then the number 10 suction side goes in on the top. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if I made that big enough. I guess we'll find out. No. Yeah, I didn't know which size hose I was putting through this. So, you know, the two are so close together, I don't think it's gonna matter if I just run the 6 in at the top. Give it a shot anyway. I won't tell if you don't. angle, and then this one gets a straight. For the suction is a straight fitting. Again, really cool that they make the hoses up for you. Yeah, this is a biggie. Let's see if we can pull this out. Make sure the fitting will let me go through there. Yeah, I bet it's tight. Okay. Let's see. This is going to be more work than I thought. All right, give me a second. So I think I can get this thing through now. There we go. I just don't want that grommet to come off. There we go. There. Yeah, I think that fits better. Yeah, so what I did was I removed the grommet from the sheet metal, and then I fitted over the end of that 90, which in the hex head on the hose end was so big that it actually didn't want to pass through it, so I had to kind of stretch the grommet, and then I left it on the shank, the hard aluminum part, and then as you saw me, I put it on like that, and then fed the hose through from there. So basically allowing the thing to crush and then re-expand once it's back in there. So let's get these connected on the inside. All right, so I had it in wrong. I was fighting that 90 when it was supposed to be a straight, and I remember thinking about it, but I guess my body did something different than what my mind was telling me. So, old folks' problems, I guess. Now, we're going to apply mineral oil. Yeah, this actually fell off when I was pushing it through, and I thought it wasn't equipped with one. And I was gonna show you guys how important it is to look when it was my fault. The O-ring popped off on accident. So anyway, I am an idiot, and this is how you're supposed to do it. Hopefully this guy goes on. Pull some slack through, just enough to get it to turn. This will be a lot easier, right? Hopefully, yes. Again, gonna back it off until I feel the threads drop. There it is. All right. That. Okay. Take this guy back. Try not to strip these threads. Okay, that should be it. That feels right. And there it is. All right. See? Feels a lot better when you're doing it right. My son, funny, we were talking yesterday and he's like, what did you say in the last video? Something about someone's uncle? And I go, Bob's your uncle? He's like, yeah, what does that mean? I don't know, it's just some old saying I've heard. Oh, you're laughing about that. He's still laughing over there. Oh, good times. Okay, this guy, I'm gonna come back through here and just check everything before I charge the system or put it in a vacuum. But we have hoses, and I'm gonna move on to back to the inner fender well. So let me get set up.